Good afternoon. A couple weeks ago, we had a teacher by the name of Venerable Guao Hui, who is a Dharma heir of Zen Master Sheng Yen. And Zen Master Sheng Yen, he founded a Dharma drum in Taiwan and has actually centers over in on the East Coast in New York and a couple centers here in San Francisco and in Fremont. And we had a 50th anniversary celebration in September, and there was two teachers that came from the Fremont you would say Zen Center, part of Dharma Drum, and they came up. Then they invited Guo Hui, who is the Dharma heir of Zen Master Sheng Yen, to come up and then visit us. And they gave this scroll to us, and maybe Rick, like I said this morning, maybe we could put it up. Maybe we can. Maybe if there's somewhere we could put it up over there on the wall, just hang it like near the lamp. That's good. Zen Master Sheng Yen was invited here I think in the early 90s by Nyoze Kwong Roshi, and throughout the years, the Zen Center and also Nyoze Kwong Roshi has had a kind of a connection, and maybe every 3 years they would come to the Zen Center and visit, and he was invited to Taiwan for the Global Buddhist Symposium. This was back in, I think, 2000, maybe 17, and they've had since then they've had monks and nuns that have come here, and I think one time, Grant, you were here, right, when they came? Yeah, and then we had tea. Yes. It was for the I think it was for the temple stay, and then we had zazen instructions, and so Guo Wei, he came 2 weeks ago, and then they presented this scroll, and during the event too, the other teacher that came for the event gave us actually there's a red kind of paper in the Sangha house, and it has a golden calligraphy on it, and it's actually the same calligraphy, and the calligraphy at the top it's a blessing, and then the second character down is wisdom, and then the third is self, and then the last one is existence and being. Actually, the more that I looked into actually these characters, it starts to get big, and they brought it. They brought the scroll as a blessing, or is actually kind of a congratulatory, or kind of a gesture. And the blessing is interesting, because yesterday when I was looking up the kanji, part of the blessing character has kind of it says it's an altar, like an altar. So on an altar, you revere special things on an altar because it's up or high. So blessing to congratulate is kind of maybe more of condition in the ordinary world, but this blessing, and actually the title, I think, of the calligraphy is Blessing in Wisdom. It's a blessing and wisdom scroll. So the blessing is actually it's affirming the wisdom and your true self, and also the existence of all things. So it's a it's a it's almost, when we sit zazen, just like this half an hour, it's hard because you have all these thinking. The thinking mind is constantly going, but you aim at this posture of zazen, and it's the shikan or shikantaza. So shikan is um, shikan is or she is one pointed single mindedness. So the one pointed means it's very focused, but at the same time, one pointedness could be actually everything. So that's like when we experience our true self, um, uh, any part of the day when we experience our true self, then this one pointed single mindedness, it expands to one point of the universe. So it's a big way of being. Just this being here is a big way of being. Um, yeah, it's and Khan would be actually it's doing nothing. So we're actually doing nothing. That's the paradox of what we do in our practice. So the the practice of sitting and actually wrestling with the small, you would say the small self, is actually an offering. We're making an offering. So it's that's when we let go of our idea of trying to gain something when we're on the mat, trying to gain something to be a better person, to what is it? To pay for all your sins, you know, to become more confident. But all this is an offering when we're doing this. So we're constantly letting go, and letting go is actually it's like holding up this stick is when we let go of the conditioned self, and we hold things up, or we hold anything that we encounter above our conditioned mind, and we value, or we lower our ego, we let go of our ego through by holding up things on, you would say, on this altar. So this blessing is quite big, but however we need to practice actually what it says on that scroll. We need to practice by coming back to this life right here and right now. So the character is blessing, wisdom, and self, and then the last is, it says it's existent, but then the bottom had being. Being is it's a great one now. Being being again, it's that one pointed single mindedness way of being, being existence, or being all things. This kind of led me to we're studying Dogen's pure standards for the Zen community, and the pure standards, or it's called the Eihei Shingi, and the Eihei Shingi is actually a writing in which Dogen, who is the founder of our, one of the founders or main founder of our Soto Zen school, he made certain ways that you kind of how you conduct yourself, and maybe conduct, or they say regulations. Yeah, I guess you could say regulations. Like when we sit, we're regulating our body and mind, constantly regulating. Think a thought of, oh, like food or something like that. And then you breathe in, and then you breathe out, and then maybe you have a pain in your leg, so your mind goes down there. Constantly regulating the body, so it's like a runner or a person playing a sport, constantly regulating the mind and the body to actually just do the activity itself. So the standards are a way. It's a way to use form, or use this body as a container in which to make this offering, to actually our offering to all things. So the Eihei Shingis, the pure standards for the Zen community. Let's see. Oh, let's see. So there was a chapter, and I think this is two weeks ago, and we talked about the Fushu Kuhampo, which is the Dharma for taking food. So in our everyday life, it's interesting because we spend so much time cooking food, shopping for food, and also eating food. So in the Eihei Shingi Dogen, he wrote instructions for the cook, and probably there's a cook who's cooking today right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So she's in the kitchen right now. So that's her practice right now, is actually cooking in the kitchen while we get to sit in the zendo. So Dogen wrote instructions for the tenzo, for the cook, how to serve the food, instructions on how to relate to the fire, the water, the preparation of the food, how to cut the food. So all these things are again, maybe going back to this blessing, or actually an offering, or it's actually Hien right now, that's her zazen, is actually in the kitchen. And so there's no distinction between other practices and also sitting zazen. But we think that zazen, or the most special thing, is to be in the meditation hall. But everything now is in the meditation hall when it's seen that way. So there's the Dharma for preparing food, or for shopping, to going shopping at Target or Costco, or farming food, and then we cut it up, and then we offer it. The tenzo then makes this offering of food. So the Dharma, the chapter for the Dharma of taking food then is, now we receive it, or now we eat. We are nourished by this food that we eat. That's also part of practice. So I will read maybe a page or a couple pages of this, and then comment a little bit on it. So yeah, I guess one thing is that, so we have oryoki, how we receive food, and how we we serve food is through oryoki, and oryoki is through uh, these bowls that we eat out of, and it's basically monks and nuns bowls. And oryoki means to receive. You would say to receive the right amount or the correct amount. And uh, this morning was hard for me. We have oryoki on Saturdays and also during sesshin. I think the Tenza, which was Koten this morning, he served, I think apple, applesauce or something. He made, so I got a lot, a lot of that. But that's not the practice. Is you see everything as equal and no distinction. So you don't discriminate between, you would say delicious or not delicious. Um, So let me get into this. So it's the Dharma for taking food. So this was written in 1246 at Eiheiji, and Eiheiji is the main, or the Daihonzan, which is the main training monastery in Japan, and it's 4 hours north of Kyoto. A sutra says, if you can remain the same with food, all dharmas also remain the same. If all dharmas are the same, then also with food you will remain the same. Just let the dharma be the same as food, and let food be the same as dharma. For this reason, if dharmas are the dharma nature, then food also is the dharma nature. If the dharma is suchness, food is also suchness. If the dharma is the single mind, food also is the single mind. If the dharma is bodhi, food also is bodhi. They are named the same and their significance is the same. So it is said that they are the same. A sutra says, named the same and significance the same. Each and every one is the same, consistent with nothing extra. Mazu said, if the Dharma realm is established, everything is entirely the Dharma realm. If suchness is established, everything is entirely suchness. If the principle is established, everything is entirely principle. If phenomena is established, all dharmas are entirely phenomena. Therefore, this same is not the sameness of parity or equality, but the sameness of awakening to the true sameness, anuttara samyak sambodhi. Awakening to the true sameness is the ultimate identity of all the suchnesses from beginning to end. The suchness of the ultimate identity from beginning to end is the genuine form of all dharmas, which only a Buddha together with a Buddha can exhaustively penetrate. Therefore, food is the dharma of all dharmas, which only a Buddha together with a Buddha exhaustively penetrate. Just at such a time, there are the genuine marks, nature, substance, power, function, causes, and conditions. For this reason, dharma is itself food, food is itself dharma. This dharma is what is received and used by all dharmas in the past and future. The food is the fulfillment, that is the joy of dharma and the delight of meditation. So So going back to the beginning, um, if you can remain the same with food, all dharmas also remain the same. If all dharmas are the same, then also with food you will remain the same. Just let dharma be the same as food, and let food be the same as dharma. So um, everything that we encounter, then we should not distinguish again whether it's good or bad, delicious or not delicious, long or short, cold and hot. These are all the dualities that we distinguish constantly outside of ourselves. So it's to remain impartial um, to all the things that we encounter in our life. And there's a story in the footnote of this. There's a story of one of Shakyamuni Buddha's great students, Subhuti, went begging for food with his monk's bowls, with the Oryoki bowls, and he came back to the monastery, and he didn't receive anything. So Vimalakirti, he put some delicious food in his bowls, in Subhuti's bowls, and Vimalakirti said, if you don't distinguish whether the food is delicious or whether it has been given by a poor person, then you can eat it. So on our basis of when we sit zazen, we become impartial to actually all the things that we encounter, all the dualities, and we don't act on these the thinking mind of whether it's angry, happy, or sad, whether it's agitated. We remain in this upright position, and then we actually let this all our thinking mind or the thoughts go. So to distinguish a food in this way, as receiving the food as just food, the dharma for taking food, there's three meanings of dharma. The first meaning is that it's the Buddha's teaching. The second meaning is that the dharma means the truth or the reality of life. And the third meaning of dharma means actually it's actually all things, and it's the myriad worlds that we encounter or outside of ourselves. Actually, it's inside of ourselves too. Just let the dharma be the same as food, and let food be the same as dharma. So how to receive the dharma is an interesting one, because it's the activity of how to live out the reality itself, the reality of life itself. The food that we eat and that we receive, it's actually the reality, the dharma. It's the true reality of life itself. So it's not just food. For this reason, if dharmas are the dharma nature, then food also is the dharma nature. Dharma nature The Dharma, the Dharma nature is the nature or the intrinsic nature of all things outside of us. So it's like the camera, it's the nature of these glasses, it's the nature of this paper. It's the same as the Dharma nature of human beings is your true nature. When you return to your life as it is, that's the true nature of your own. It's reclaiming your own birthright when you arrive to where you are. So it's the you would say the arising of your true nature. So Dharma nature then in everything, it's Dharma nature of everything has its own nature now. So it's not just food, but it's actually nature of all things. Actually, almost the nature of all things is this paper is the nature of all things is in this paper. This is food, this is paper, this is the camera. If Dharma, if the Dharma realm, if the Dharma is suchness, food is also suchness. So food is also the ultimate reality, and it's the truth. And then he goes on to, if the Dharma is Bodhi, is awakening, food is also awakening. So when we receive the food in this way, then it goes down to, therefore this same is not the sameness of parity or equality, but the sameness of awakening to the true sameness, anuttara samyak sambodhi. Awakening to the true sameness is the ultimate identity of all the suchnesses from beginning to end. So this awakening is actually the awakening of food now, is the awakening of taking food or eating food in that way. So going back to this, going back to the scroll is the you have the blessing. The blessing is at the top, and then you have wisdom, and then you have self, and then you have existence or being. So this self, when I looked it up, the self is a jiko, but it's not like I was talking about. It's not the self. We usually think of the self as being solidified or individual, or a consciousness or something that's psychological. But in Buddhist terms, jiko is something that goes beyond. And to study and practice, you would say the Buddha way is actually to study this jiko or the self in this way. So we study, once we study anything that we encounter, then we are studying ourself, and we're studying actually the entire world. To learn and practice the jiko or the self is to actually let go, or is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be affirmed by all things, and it's to let go of body and mind and the divisions and all things that affirm us. So when we let go of all things, then actually the food, the awakening of food, then awakens you. It's the awakening of all things. Affirm is being used in not the abstract sense of realizing an idea, but rather in the sense of bringing into concrete existence. So when we are living out this small self, then we are actually living out the existence of actually all things, and we are affirming um, all things that we encounter is the self. So this is the 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 relative. This is the relative, like the paper, and it's the absolute at the same time. To practice the refined way of life of the Buddha entails the functioning of Jiko. The functioning of Jiko means the letting go of one's ego, the narrow self-identity that pits oneself against others. And this is what we create when we create this self-centered I, um, that's driven by greed, anger, and ignorance. Then we have a suffering in our own lives, and then also we create suffering in the world. And then actually, then we actually create wars, which we made. Now there's wars going on in the world, and also we are killing others by doing this. Letting go of conceptualizing Jiko, or the self manifests through the realization, concretization of all things. For this realization to come about, one must cast aside all conceptions that divide self from other. Um, and this narrow way of being constantly comes up through maybe holding open the door and wanting to be thanked from the person, but then we let it go, right? We let that go because that's the ego solidifying itself. Or maybe cooking in the kitchen, and your actions aren't seen by everybody, so you're not credited with, you know, cooking the food, but then you have to let that go. So we should constantly aim in that direction of actually letting go this self that we create, um, this division between this self and also others. But this self can act also with this self and within this self, which is actually all things. So at the same time, it can act. Um, let's see. Well, this is an interesting one too. Bodhi, or this awakening of the food, is awakening to the reality of all beings. So Dharma is awakening, and we usually think of awakening as something subjective that happens inside a person, and Dharma as the object of awakening. So that's the food. In the teachings of Mahayana Buddhism, there is no separation between subject and object, between the person who sees reality and the reality that is seen. When we separate the two, wisdom becomes delusion. Awakening beings and reality are one. The Dharma is Bodhi, awakening itself. Awakening is not something special. is not some special psychological state or stage of development. When we are one with all beings, we are awake. When when we are mindful right now, right here, our body and mind completely present in this moment, engaged with what we are doing, we are awake and enlightened. The Dharma is Bodhi and food is also Bodhi. Food and Dharma are both Dharma nature and Buddha nature and suchness. So this is a to sit or to return to your life as it is on the cushion is it's a big it's the best thing that you could do, we could do in our life is to actually come back to this life that we have and stop chasing our fabrications, the thinking mind, and that just it creates stress, creates anxiety, fear, creates hate, and and yeah, to come back to our lives is important, but to to sit and then see how to actually to stop it. We need to stop it, but we need to have an insight on what's happening. That's why we sit. That's why we sit still is, and we see these things, fabrications come up, and then we have insight to it's a fabrication, and then we let it go. And again, another thing comes up, and then we let it go. When we're cooking in the kitchen, we're all, I hope they say it's good food. We let go. Breathe in and breathe out, we let it go. So this is constantly then aiming in this direction of being interconnected with all things. So anyways, thank you.